Well, folks, we about to get another Battlefield game. We're gonna get into it. A new Battlefield campaign confirmed. Make sure to smash the subscribe bell.
In the near future, we're going to get a new Battlefield campaign.
Okay.
It could be a campaign attached to a proper multiplayer Battlefield game, like we had in BF3 and BF4, or it could be a standalone single-player game.
My guy, I can see them come out with Bad Company 3. Would you want that? Or do you not want to see the campaign? Do you want to see the campaign? Let me know.
Set in the Battlefield universe. Now, there's some information that's come out online, and this is not based on leaks. This is based on facts, and that's why I wanted to do a video on this and cover it, because it's real. And this has all stemmed from a job application on the EA website of the new Battlefield Seattle studio. So a bit of context for you. In December of last year, after the launch of BF 2042, a lot of the heads at DICE stepped down. The general manager stepped down. And they hired a bunch of new people, and they
that's the crazy thing. I remember there was a general manager, I forgot his name though, but he was like, you know what, everybody should calm down, we got Battlefield 2042 under control. He did say that. That's why we're delaying the game for 1 month. When the game comes out, it's gonna be awesome. The game comes out, he leaves the company. He just deadass departed the company. Just the funniest shit ever, man. You cannot make this
where they
up.
announced Vince Zampella would now be in charge of the series, if you will. They announced Rebecca Kutaz as the new GM of DICE, and they announced a new studio in Seattle. And that's the important thing to note here. They said at the time that this would be headed by Marcus Leto.
Bro, Battlefield 3 is looking insanely good, even to this day, damn.
He's one of the co-creators of the Halo universe. And now on his Twitter bio, it says...
Yo, this guy's an actual Chad. He also follows me on Twitter, and this is not the reason why I'm saying he's a Chad, because the reason he's a Chad, my God, there has been so many fans that would hit him up with like some bad opinion, good opinions, but like, you know what, how dare you guys put out Battlefield game like that? And he's just responding with like, hey man, we're gonna do our best, right? Like now we're taking in charge. And this guy actually responds to the community in the most politest way possible. And I have seen people also change their direction, right? Because normally, you know, on Twitter everybody's like hate each other, everybody goes at each other, right? And people were going at Marcus in the beginnings, but when they saw him respond to them in the most polite way possible, in a human way, right, like human to human, then those opinions were like, okay, yeah, the game might be bad, but you know what, he's not one of those guys. Like, he's just one of us, right? He's just out there trying to do his job. He's trying to make the best. He's listening, at least he's responding. So a lot of people were like a lot more chill after that, which I really like, because Marcus is also responding. He's taking time to respond to the community and do what is right. Obviously, we do not know. He might not be doing what's right, okay? You never know. But by the looks of it, he's trying, and that's what counts at the end, right?
Director at Battlefield, narrative at EA. So we knew about that. We knew that they were making a new studio in Seattle for Battlefield. But back in December, we didn't really know what they'd be working on apart from this that they said here. And this, I think, was open to interpretation. So we'll read this. It said that the studio in Seattle will be working on world building and narrative within the Battlefield franchise. EA indicated that each is working on a new experience in the Battlefield universe. That doesn't explicitly mean that these will both take the forms of games. The experiences terminology allows some wiggle room for what they will.
It could be just a mobile game, you know, for what I know, man. If I know, this could be a mobile game. Games not included. Games not included.
Turn out to be. We intend to build a Battlefield universe, one with multiple projects that are interconnected with the player at the center. And then Leto himself said on Twitter, we're building a new studio from scratch in the Seattle area. So I'm looking for core leadership in many disciplines. If you've got 5 to 10 years of FPS experience, love the idea of working in the Battlefield universe and want to help build an awesome...
I really hope that the next game is legitimately like Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4. I really hope they take inspiration from that, because the formula was good. Some people would also say Battlefield Bad Company 2, which I am a fond. Like, listen, Battlefield Bad Company 2 was my first Battlefield game. I love that game a lot, okay? This is why I was really hyped for Portal as well, but even that's not getting treated right. Even that's not getting any content. Listen, man, Battlefield has a unique formula. It worked. Why change something that's not broken? Why fix something that's not broken, right? They tried to do that with Battlefield 2042 and ultimately falling right on their face.
Team, please reach out. So in December of last year, lots of grey areas, but we're going to take a look now at what's been updated and this job application that I just mentioned. So this role that they're advertising for is Design Director, Battlefield Seattle Studio. Previously, This studio didn't have a name, and Battlefield Seattle Studio could still be just a temporary name. I'd imagine it probably is, and they just don't want to reveal the name yet. But for the time being, they're obviously dedicated to Battlefield. There's a bit more context at the start of the advertisement. BF Seattle is focused on building rich, exciting stories with memorable characters and powerful experiences, all in the Battlefield universe. We're building a new studio in the Seattle area composed of leaders and talent with a vast array of AAA game dev experience. As we assemble our diverse team, all who have a voice in making great games together, we're looking for a healthy mixture of tempered veterans.
What game would you guys love to see? Would you love to see Battlefield 2042 Part 2? Would you love to see a bit of Battlefield 3 Remaster? I would love to see that, 100%, 110%. I mean, shush. But I feel like that they can redeem themselves if they come out with Bad Company 3, because there were rumors and leaks all the way back, like years ago, that in the beginnings they were trying to make Bad Company 3, but it didn't work out, and then they kind of made it work into Battlefield 2042. And I feel like those rumors were actually true, though.
Young, passionate individuals eager to make a difference. And then it goes into the role overview, and this is where we get the actual detail. Reporting to the studio general manager, you will manage the design and design vision of a new Battlefield campaign. I mean, that's as pretty clear cut as you can get, isn't it? Your job is to orchestrate the mission design, narrative, game mechanics, and systems to create the highest quality experience possible. You foster relationships with creative engineering and production to create an inclusive design team. Your job is to embrace the core tenets of the Battlefield franchise and make sure that they're woven through all layers of a masterfully designed single-player campaign. You will build the studio's design team and culture and build an amazing campaign from concept through release. You are also responsible for leading iteration of the product design based on feedback from peers, company partners, and team members, while holding.
So we're gonna get campaign this time.
So there's actually quite a lot to unpack there, I think.
By the
Based on that description, though, and the fact that the studio was only set up in December, this is obviously very early days for this game, whether it's a campaign for a future Battlefield game or a standalone single-player Battlefield game, establishing some kind of...
I really hope it's not a standalone campaign only. Campaign and multiplayer, let's do both.
We don't know yet. My best guess here is that this Seattle studio will completely oversee the single-player for the next core Battlefield title. And that will be used for world building, for introducing characters, and tying that into the narrative of the multiplayer, which although 2042 does have some, it's not that strong, and they've not really leaned into it that much so far. Obviously, the game has a lot of issues, and I think they've just been focused on fixing those first and getting it up to speed before diving into the narrative and story. Of course, in other shooter games that are multiplayer PvP and have a battle pass system, live service like Warzone, Fortnite,
live service,
and it helps to connect the players to the universe a bit more. 2042 hasn't done a good job of that at all. So I reckon that's what this is.
Dude, I hate the word live service. Live service games are not the problem. It's just that how they are treated, because they say we're gonna get live service games, and then they don't even drop any content. I mean, damn, bro.
In a couple years' time, we will have a new Battlefield multiplayer game. I reckon they're going to go back to basics with it. I think they're going to bring back classes. I think they're going to go 64 players. I think they're going to lean into destruction, smaller maps with more of a focus on infantry. But at the same time, I think what the studio are developing is a single player campaign for that game. That makes the most sense for me at the moment. But of course, I could be completely wrong and off base with this one. The job description continues with some responsibilities. A couple of the most interesting ones here. Define and lead the design efforts necessary for creating a best-in-class single-player campaign experience. Then start with a player-first mentality motivated by passionate aim to understand and serve the players who...
I don't know about player-first mentality, man. Like, if it was player-first mentality, we wouldn't be saying Battlefield 2042 the way it's getting treated. One map per season? Are you out of your goddamn mind? One map? Are you kidding me?
So that's all so far, but this is real, and it's essentially confirming that rather than this studio just being an effort to make more narrative in the multiplayer, they are actually going to go back and make a single player campaign. But it would seem it's a dedicated studio, so Seattle focuses on the single player, DICE focuses on the multiplayer. We'll see how it turns out. Interesting for sure. I have to say that for me personally, I feel 50-50 about this. Yeah, we don't really know much about it at all, and it's just the beginning of it, so I don't think it would be fair to be judgmental about this already. However, from
my guy's like, yeah, okay, let's be not judgmental, and then he's judgmental, right? But I know what he's trying to say. Like, I feel the homie. I
haven't really enjoyed a Battlefield single player game since Battlefield 3. Before that, Bad Company 2, loved it. BF4 had some cool moments in it. BF1 and 5, they went for the war stories style, and I like to...
Listen, I don't mind us having campaign or no campaign. I'm fine with either. There are a lot of people that would be fine with multiplayer only, but the problem here is that Battlefield 2042, it's multiplayer only. That's not the problem. The problem is that lack of maps, lack of care, lack of content, and completely changing the game dynamics of you know, introducing specialists and changing the class system and changing what was not broken, essentially, right? That was the main problem. If they didn't toy around with specialists, if they did, or you know what, keep the specialists in Hazard Zone, right? Hazard Zone should have been free to play. That should have been much better than how it ended up being, right? And if multiplayer had a lot more maps, or you know what, 7 maps, that's what it launched with. That's, for me, that's not even the problem. For me, is that those 7 maps don't even feel that good. They don't even feel content heavy. If those 7 maps really had some cover, if they had destruction, some dynamic elements to it, I bet it would have been fine. People wouldn't been complaining about lack of content. And surely season 1 came out like 6-7 months later, maybe even 8 months later, only launched with 1 map. You see what I mean, right? If season 1 launched with like 2, 3, 4 maps. Listen, back in my days, every 2 to 3 months, we would be getting 4 maps. 4 maps for DLC. I know we had to pay $15. I would rather pay $15 for good quality maps. It felt like that whenever you would give them money, extra money, it's like they would try to care, right? There was always, because if you are gonna purchase season pass, their goal was to first market that. Their goal was to first put the player in mind. And they were like, okay, we need to deliver high quality content, otherwise people would not buy. And if people would not buy, we're not gonna profit. And if we're not profiting, then we cannot make the maps, we cannot make the content, and vice versa. So they had to try, and once they tried, people saw the vision, people liked it, people purchased, right? And then obviously they made sure that they would deliver quality. And ever since they went with live service, Fortnite does it well, in my honest opinion, right? Like, I don't play Fortnite. I'm not a Fortnite lover. I'm not a Fortnite hater. I just don't play it. It's not for me. But last time when I played, I actually enjoyed it. And you know what? Respect to Fortnite for, or you know, they definitely changed the gaming industry for good and bad. But one thing that I can say here is that they're doing really good things for their own community, where they're trying to come out with content all the freaking time, and it's good content for that community, right? You may disagree, you may agree, you may disagree, right? But their community, listen, man, that game is still killing it. It might not be killing it on the same level as it once was, but it's still killing it. It's still getting the content. It's still getting good amount of content, but content, and everybody who tried to copy, whether that be Activision with Call of Duty, whether that be EA, anybody who's like coming out with live service games, they're not getting the same level of content. In fact, not even the same amount of content, and the frequency is very slow at the same time. So it's a night and day difference, right?
A couple of them, but it didn't really have a cohesive narrative, and you weren't given enough time to care about the characters, because each of the war stories was just like 40 minutes long, and they weren't connected to each other in any way apart from, hey, it's World War One in BF1 and then World War II in BF5.
I did enjoy Battlefield 1
okay, I've done this next,
war
so
stories,
that's how it felt for me anyway. But BF3, if they go back to that kind of style where there's an overall story and there's a beginning and an end, and you're getting to know the characters and you're learning things that you might take into the multiplayer, I think that could be cool. And the fact that Marcus Leto was one of the original co-creators of Halo, that makes me think that perhaps they might lean into a more open world approach in some of the missions. Also, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I've got it in my head that making single player campaigns for first person shooters is incredibly expensive. And I seem to recall reading in an interview somewhere that for Battlefield 4, 50% of the entire budget of the game was taken up by the single player campaign, which means that these things are super expensive.
I can see that be a reality, because obviously they would have to have mocap artists, they would have to have voiceovers, they would have to like do animation, CGI, and all that work. They would have to pay a lot of different actors as well to do the CGI stuff, and obviously the editors and whatnot, right? Or you know what I mean, right? So it would definitely require a bigger budget for sure
to make. So there must be a concerted effort going into this and a lot of money. But as a
plus a story writer,
BF 1942, I'd love the focus to be the multiplayer first, because I feel like that's what Battlefield does best. So the fact that they're making this a separate studio, that makes me think that this won't impact the multiplayer that much. Don't know that for a fact, of course, and I'm down for a new Battlefield single player campaign. I think there's still room in modern FPS games for cool campaigns like that. BF3, as I mentioned, a lot of the nostalgia and fond memories of BF3 for me personally come from the campaign as well as the multiplayer, because it just had some sick levels in it and scenarios, cool military hardware, a couple of twists and turns in there. The graphics were gritty and realistic.
Twists and turns.
That's another great example. Campaigning that was great, short but sweet. MW2 looks like it's shaping up nicely as well. So even though they're
instead click on this video on the screen. We ended up getting Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer and beta leaks, or you can click on this video where a Karen tried to arrest a cop. It goes badly wrong. Click on it and